Hello, Billy here. I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the tools that I've been using and that I built that really helps with my generative AI workflows. It's called FileMark. It's a VS Code extension that allows you to make very specific comments and feed that back into a Claude Code session or similar to make very specific feedback comments instead of general comments. To start off, I'll describe a typical scenario. Let's say that you're starting from a new project and you say something like, I want to perform a linear regression analysis on some data, just as a starting point. So if you have a regression model or some kind of data analysis, it doesn't have to be linear regression, but let's just pick that as an example. It could be, I want to calculate the means from a bunch of columns from this Excel spreadsheet, whatever the thing is. But in our case, let's just say it's a linear regression model. You state that you want to do a linear regression model on the data, and you're in plan mode. So then when you're in plan mode for Claude Code, it analyzes your folder and then it goes and writes up a plan based on what information it has in the prompt you gave it. And then on the right, you can make comments to that plan and it can update the plan based on those comments. Then you approve the plan after it gets to a point where you're satisfied with it, and then it performs what it thinks is the best way to achieve the desired outcome from that plan. It finishes its task and it provides an output, which is depending on the desired prompt and the setup. That's all pretty standard. However, when you go back and look at the code that it produced, you might say, oh, you might notice that it has, instead of a more sophisticated regression model, it's only using a simple linear regression model. And so you wanted that component to change, and to address that, you could go back into Claude Code and say, I want this to be multiple regression instead of just simple linear regression. Or you could use FileMark to make specific comments about the R code and then send that produced feedback back to Claude Code so that it knows very specifically, I want you to change these components and these lines of the document. And then it's much more efficient and targeted feedback instead of it needing to figure out and use tokens on what lines are relevant and how things might be impacted. And so FileMark really helps when I'm reviewing documents produced by Claude Code or a generative AI tool and giving very targeted feedback to give very specific and efficient tasks for the generative AI to do. So it's much easier at providing really useful and targeted feedback to the tool. And this also provides evidence that it's not just the human blindly accepting whatever Claude Code is doing or the generative AI tool is using. Instead, it's providing evidence that the human is providing very targeted, specific feedback to the generative AI to make very specific changes. And so those documents can be used as logs or reference points to show how the human is making really intelligent contributions, intelligent comments to the generative AI to improve the overall final product. So that's just a quick overview of FileMark and how I use it to make very targeted, useful comments to my generative AI tool to make improvements to a final product that I'm setting out to do.